Hey, Jeff, it looks like you're super busy, so I'll get right to it. Looks like you're in the R&D lab there.
I am, man. You can see behind me all the little gadgets and things going on. Everything is built on a mini scale here. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting right by a little ribbon blender. See if you can see that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's nice.
Takes about 10 pounds.
Sure.
That's actually big for a lab mixer. Most of them are 100-gram mixers and such.
Yeah, like one or two, maybe three servings.
Yep.
Whereas they'll do a full bottle, I guess, depending on protein or
Yeah,
whatever.
I'd make one bottle. Yeah.
But anyway, like I said, I know you're busy, and I wanted to run this by you because this comes up a lot over the years, and it's this. There's been this prevailing, I'm gonna call it myth, but I guess just belief that when you take creatine, we're talking about creatine monohydrate, what crealkaline is, what we promote, that you have to take like either big doses to get it to work. In fact, here's what spurred this. We got yet another person asking today if they could take multiple pills, beyond what we would prescribe or what we recommend to get where they get a much better result if they took like 8 or 10 capsules, let's say.
Right.
So
let's first of all bust the myth. But before we can bust that myth, let's talk about where it came from. Now, you got to remember that I was the one to bring creatine monohydrate to the marketplace. Didn't exist. The first company that we did it for, and this is long before EFX existed, was a company called Cal Farm. And there was, this was back in the, I guess early 90s or something. There was an article that came out, a small article that was talking about Olympic athletes using this compound called creatine. And there was 5 people in the study. It wasn't a big study, that they were loading, basically taking a whole bunch. Well, at the time, Cal Farm was selling one bottle of 100 grams for $99.99. And when we saw this article, we thought, well, dang, first time user, they now could sell them 3 bottles because they're going to need enough to load. So it was really a marketing ploy. At that time, there was really no science behind taking 20 or 30 grams for 2 or 3 weeks that was any more beneficial than just taking a smaller dose. So that's really how it all started. And from them, people have, adopted that as their science. I still don't think there's a whole lot of scientific evidence or reasoning behind that, because we learned in our studies as we created crealkaline that you don't need to load. And that was one of the first things that we said. We actually told people what it didn't do: no loading, no bloating, no side effects.
yes,
Because you don't need to. I mean, you can get on 1.5 grams and start that way and you finish that way.
well, and that I think that just because people aren't used to it, that sounds awfully low. But I guess at the same time, I would say, wouldn't it make more sense if we wanted to have bigger turn or sell more bottles? We would tell people to take 10, 12 capsules, but we're saying use almost next to nothing if you think about it.
Well, and we've done more studies than any single company. Now, when I say that, people go, "Oh, there's 300 studies on creatine." No. One company didn't do those.
Right.
That was done by multiple universities over the years, and there probably is more studies than that. But we did more than anybody, and we did a toxicology study on humans, because we'd already passed all of our, our animal toxicology studies. And one of the studies in particular, we were checking dosages. And we went up to, I want to say it was something like 15 grams. And what we found was there was no more benefit taking those higher dosage as there was taking lower dosages. And what people fail to realize with any supplement, if you take too much and your body can't absorb it, you're pissing it out, man. And the thing you want to do is tax your kidneys, especially taking creatine with all that creatinine. And that's really all you're doing. So I found you don't need to do that. I mean, you take 1 dose of crealkaline and you feel it. And you remember, that's how we started. We went out passing out 5 capsule samples. People would go to the gym, come back and say, something ain't right with this. There's no way that 2 caps of creatine is going to make me feel this way,
Right. Yeah. And I think we've found, and I know what you're saying in a nutshell, is there's a point of diminishing returns. You're just not going to get a certain amount or benefit past a certain amount of ingestion. So we
Yep.
found, I know over the years, that typically for the average person, 2 caps, maybe 4, somewhere is kind of the sweet spot. We've had a few people that jump up to 6 or 8, maybe somewhere in that range. But I mean, I've always told people, hey, you can try it, experiment. If you just don't see
Yeah.
enough difference between, say, 4 and 8 or whatever, why wouldn't you just stick with the 4? It doesn't make any sense.
Right. But we did find out early on too, that your body can only use so much at one time. And what people,
Right.
again, fail to realize, when you are eating your meats, you are taking in creatine. Your body is also producing creatine. So just because you take in a whole lot of creatine, your body's going to use what it produces first. So again, if it can't use it, it's gonna get rid of it. But from an external source, I saw that we can only use about 1.5 grams every 3 hours. So again, I never tell people to take a whole bunch at one time.
Right.
Again, it depends on weight and size and your activity level. Like you said, you got to experiment a little bit.
Yeah.
But a little bit goes a long way. You don't need to do what the creatine other brands say. Now, we have seen a lot of different creatines come and go that stole all of our marketing, no loading, no bloating, no side effects.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, right. Can you be a little more creative?
That's true. That's true. Yes, a lot of these magic formulas have come and gone, and let's face it, we've been accused of that too. But I think that came down to people just not understanding that we promote creatine monohydrate, no other form. Period.
Right.
Through the story, and that's where everyone kind of goes sideways because they think of the name and not what it actually is.
And I think my very first interview that I did on Crealkaline, I think that's really where my saying came up, because they were like, well, what makes this different than, creatine? So it was too complex to get into creatinine and bile waste. So I would say, well, you don't need to load. You're not going to get bloat, because back then everybody knew if you took creatine monohydrate, you would bloat, which is why women wouldn't take it.
Right.
And there were no side effects, because we already proved in all of our trials that not one person had any side effects, from our animal studies to all of our clinical trials. So that kind of came where it came from. So it's kind of funny when people copy that, because there was a reason why I said that, it was based on science, not just marketing,
Sure. So I guess to kind of bring this to a close, from the horse's mouth, the inventor, and then based on the research, what do you recommend as far as the average person? Again, we know there's a spectrum
Right.
of, the freak on this end and the person that could almost never get any results. But, for the average trainee, how much Crealkaline do they need to take?
So this is what I tell everybody. First of all, it's consistency versus the time of day. Don't get all bent up. Oh, I forgot to take it, exactly 18 minutes before a workout, so I won't take it and I miss a day. I tell people to take 2 caps first thing in the morning. Reason being, build your creatine stores up first thing in the morning, get you off to a jump start. Most people can remember to take it. Now, if you're serious and you're training, then I would say take 2 caps, an additional 2 caps on training day before your workout. Off days, just take 2 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, that's just the general rule of thumb across the board. If you're a $140, you might want to try 1 cap, So again, a little bit goes a long way. And I think most people will find we're one of the few companies that is promoting to take less, which is why it's so cost effective when you look at how many caps come in some of these bottle sizes, where everybody else is still promoting. And again, it's from a marketing standpoint. We're going to burn up more product if you continue to load. And, some of the bodybuilders still believe that, but let's face it, they're taking so much other stuff that they don't know what's working,
Yeah, it's funny because I had this exact conversation actually yesterday with someone on this very subject, asking me, creatine, do I have to take it at a certain time? I said, honestly, the key is being consistent. I said, if you can remember that with breakfast, you take your dose,
Yep.
You're good. Is there benefit to before or after? Yeah, maybe for recovery or whatever. I said, but it's kind of like this. I said, you have storage that you're trying to get to a certain level and maintain. It's like putting gas in your car on the way home from work.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? That next morning, it's still sitting in the tank. It's nothing's happened between that time and in the morning when you go back to work. It's like, oh, that makes sense.
Well, and that's exactly it. You've got these little creatine reservoir sites. All you're trying to do is fill them up when they're full. That's it. It's wasted. So again, it isn't like, taking protein where, some people can absorb more protein and it's all going to go to muscle building. Most people waste protein because they take too much.
Right.
Body can use so much every couple, 3 hours,
That's exactly right.
But,
Yep.
they get on YouTube or, Instagram and, here's this 270-pound, bodybuilder who, again, is using all kind of other stuff, which makes them not a normal person. They can do those things, but not the average person, which is most of us.
Right. So, like I said, the rule of thumb, 2 to 4 caps on average for a person.
Yep.
Consistency is more important.
Yep.
And if you really do want to go for it and try, I mean, it's your body. If you
Yep.
really notice a difference at 10 caps or whatever, by all means, hey, good, more power to you. But I'd rather take a normal dose and save the money.
Yep. And if you've never tried Crealkaline, I do have some sample bottles left in the lab here.
Oh.
Send me an email, drj@allamph.com. Send them out absolutely free. Our slogan from the beginning is you should never buy any supplement until you have had an opportunity to try it. So,
right. Yeah. And that's definitely one that speaks for itself. Like you said, I've been to hundreds of shows where we give away just a handful and those guys would take it the next day, come back going, I don't know what you gave me, but I know something was going on with that. Like, hey, that's all it takes. Give me a bottle. Yep. Give me 3.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I'll let you get back to whatever you got and brewing in there.
I got some secret stuff going on here. So, I got to get back at it, man.
Oh, I like secret stuff.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that on another day.
Yeah, definitely. All right, man. Well, you have a good